I wanted to cover this story because this is a very serious story. Um, in I'm talking about in all seriousness. This is a case where when I read the information, I was like, this is there's a lot of lessons to learn from this because this is real. What they're saying that this man did, I believe, right? So this is where when it comes to SA, when it comes to these serious things, when a man is violating um, another woman, and in this case, underage uh, teenager, right? This is where I'm like, yep, this is this is he did that. But I want to cover this story because there's a lot of lessons that we must we where we have to address these things. We have to talk about the prevention part. We have to talk about not only the seriousness or the how heinous this guy is, but we must talk about prevention. We can't just be like just teach young boys not to. No. We must talk about prevention because this could have easily been prevented. And when I actually start talking about these things, I'm going to highlight a very underlying cause that we haven't been focused in on. And I believe this there are a lot of young women that are druggies. And because of their drug habits, they put themselves in very vulnerable positions. And like I say, what predators actually like to do, what they make sure they're in these spaces where women are vulnerable. This is why you see them, you see a lot of, male predators, they go into professions where they can take advantage of a woman's vulnerability, or they're in places where they can take advantage of women that are under the influence of some sorts. That's why you'll see even a lot of male doctors getting caught doing certain things, male gynecologists, male male morticians, right? Um, male coaches if they're coaching females and all this stuff. Male a lot of males in the medical field. But what we're talking about in real life, right? A lot of the drug dealers, a lot of these people, the criminals, a lot of them are also predators of young women or just women in general, but particularly young women as well. So let's cover this story because this is like this is where we're not even doing no jokes, no nothing on this one because we have to start. We need to start. If we can fix this. I believe we can fix this. So right here, Adam Hyman. Sheesh, what an irony. A 19-year-old from Miami Beach is facing serious charges after allegedly smoking with two teenage girls and luring them to a residence in sunny Isles Beach. Now, to pause from the article, remember what I told you about drug dealers, or when I was saying, oh yeah, if you want to get broads, just become a wannabe peddler, meaning a wannabe drug dealer, or act like you have something to smoke. Act like you want to smoke with it. They'll drop everything they're doing, and they'll smoke with you, no matter who you are, no matter if you're 6 feet tall, or no matter if you have drugs. Women will come to you because a lot of them. I'm not going to say most, but a lot of particularly young women, particularly and especially the ones today, if you just have any type of drugs, they'll be your quote unquote friend and will do certain favors just to get them. So right here, continuing from the article, it says once there, he reportedly threatened them with a firearm before SAing them. Following his arrest by Sunny Isles Beach police, he appeared in bond court where he was denied bond. Hyman, known as a marijuana and vape dealer, had previously sold to one of the victims, reports the Miami Herald. Now, the reason why I believe this story because it already automatically said like the police was on this case. So that means like it was just so foul. What he is like the police knew, they went straight to the police. You know what I mean? So that's how you know this guy was foul. It says back in June, Adam Hyman picked up two teenage girls and drove them around Aventura, including the top of the Aventura Mall parking garage where they smoked and vaped. He then took them to a residence in Sunny Isles Beach, claiming it belonged to a friend. Now, right there, do you know how many teenage girls are doing this? I'm talking about as we speak. As we speak, do you know how many young girls are doing this? Smoking with men way older than them, and I'm talking about they'll be like 14, 15 years old, doing this with grown men that are 21 years old, 22, 23, 19-year olds in this case. And the reason why I mention is because this is not a leverage position. They're putting themselves in danger because, first of all, a man that is willing to be smoking with a underage girl is a predator. They can be smoking with any type of broad, but they're smoking with underage girls. So you already know, if you're dealing with a man that's willing to smoke with you, and if you're a girl and y'all are girls, but y'all are underaged, whatever, and you think the man that is giving you drugs is your friend. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And this is what we need to start telling young girls: older men willing to give you drugs are not your friend. Hell, older women willing to give you drugs, they're not your friend. But these are things that are supposed to be taught by like Dare and these people, but I guess they're not doing their job. This should be common sense. But like I said, when drugs are involved, it seems like all the morals, all the requirements, all the hurdles and red lights or green lights is just all out the window when it comes to their drugs, particularly young women's drugs. We have a because it's almost like I always compare it to, like, people talk about, oh, we have a a corn epidemic, whatever. People are addicted to corn, but they just act like it's just the young men. I'm like, no, it's the young women as well. They watch just as much corn, if not more corn than men, but they just act like it's just men that are going through that. So when we talk about these things, they talk about the opioid crisis, all this drug, this drug epidemic that we're having with these young kids. I will say it is mostly, I will say it's a lot more young girls than young men that are suffering from these from drug addiction. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but because women already outnumber men, so just off the numbers alone, I'm pretty sure women are outnumbering men when it comes to drug addiction, opioid addiction, and all that stuff. So unfortunately, this puts predators like this guy in the driver's seat, literally, where now he can get any broad to really do what he wants. He actually doesn't, in his case, he actually doesn't have to he didn't, I don't even think the sick part of this is he actually didn't have to force himself on these broads. Even if they weren't down to sleep with him, I'm pretty sure he could have found two other broads that were the same age, unfortunately, which would still make him a predator, but he would have been able to find two other broads, same age, and willing to sleep with him. That would still make him a predator, though. But I'm just telling you, this is the kind of sickness, the society that we're dealing with, where now we have a lot of predators flocking to be drug peddlers, drug dealers of some sort, because they already know they can get vulnerable young women. And even if the woman reject his advances, he can get another young woman to not reject his the advances, because they already know young women are going to come to the table with no money. They're going to ask, how can I still get these drugs? Oh, and then they're like, well, you know what you have to do. And that's usually how it works. Continuing reading from the article, let me see. He said he then took them to a residence in Sunny Isles, claiming it belonged to a friend. Now that's already a red flag for me. But like I said, when it comes to drugs, because they were getting drugs from the guy, they just trust him. They said once inside, the girls noticed numerous firearms, including shotguns and pistols. The 19-year-old then dragged one girl into a room, pointed a gun at her head, and threatened her life before SAing her. The teen was too shocked and scared to fight back. And this is another thing too, particularly with young women, is when they go through something traumatic like that, they often say that they froze, that their body freezed up, or they were afraid to fight back because they were afraid of getting hurt even more than they were about to. Now, with that being said, if you were to tell that same young girl, yo, you can't be leaving the house, I'm pretty sure those were the same young girls that were like, no, you can't tell me what to do and all this stuff. I want to go out. They probably have fake IDs as well, but they don't realize how real it is out here. This is why we tell them to stay yo ass at the house, because clearly they don't understand the type of men that are out there. They don't. We do. This is why we tell them to stay in the house. You know, and because but the thing is, when we say this, they call us, the R word apologists, right? They call us that, or they say the same thing. Well, we need to teach young men how to not, bruh. This guy is a criminal. Do you think he don't know what he's male, particularly male criminals? They know what they're doing is wrong. That's why they're doing it. They don't they don't care. This is why. Then when we approach people like that, we make sure we put them into the ground because they're already willing to take the risk of what they're about to do, is because they already know what they're doing is wrong. They just don't care no more. What you can't do nothing with that. It's that all you can do is, if you find somebody like that don't care, is you put them away in prison, or you put them away in terms of send them to the underworld, right? Meaning you take him out, you take him out of this life. This is why men get deleted by other men, because we already know if he's willing to be out here reckless like that, that means that guy don't care about the consequences. So right here, this is why we even tell them. This is why we're always worried about, particularly young women, or if we have a girl, of them going out at night, going to these clubs by themselves, or with even if they're with friends. We're still concerned because we already know if something like this happens, it's always, man. They always say that they freeze up. So if you're a type of woman that's gonna do if unfortunately you run into a circumstance like that and you're freezing up, you need protection. You know what I mean? Either you need protection or you need to stay home. You just need to stay home. Because clearly those two teenage girls, they were way too naive to, like, first of all, what they're talking about, oh, I got some drugs for you. If an older man is telling you I got drugs for you, that's not your friend. And then on top of that, he said, "Oh yeah, just come to my penthouse, or my spot is it's my friends." No, no, that's that's how women get trafficked. That's because once they close that door, you don't know what's going to happen inside that room. This is how women get trafficked as well. Reading from the article again, it says, after the first assault, one victim tried to warn the other, but Hyman pulled her into the room and assaulted the other victim, threatening her with a firearm and leaving both underage girls injured. Hyman dropped one girl at home, but told the other he wasn't finished. He then assaulted her again in a Publix parking lot and recorded the incident, which was later used as evidence for his arrest. The report says he has been charged with a firearm or deadly weapon, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, use of a child in a sexual performance, kidnapping, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious battery. I think that's how you say it. So I saw this comment right here, and it wasn't the top. I don't know why they moved this to the top comment, but one comment said, and I bet 100 million, was it $100 billion that he listens to RP content like Fresh and Fit. Now, I don't know what Fresh and Fit has to do with this. There's always been predatory drug dealers that become drug dealers so they can target young girls. I don't think they need Fresh and Fit to tell them that. So that was kind of a weird comment to make, where you see something as sick as this and the first thing you want to do is you're thinking about RP content. I mean, that's just weird in my opinion, because the first thing when I see this, I'm like, oh, I'm literally like, oh, this is real. There's not, like, when I see a headline like this, particularly when looking at the age and you're looking at the person, it's like a regular Joe. I'm thinking, oh, this might be a real case. This might be a real case, because this stuff happens where it'll be two teenage, because this happens in real life, where it'll be some teenage girls that'll be smoking with their quote unquote trusted drug dealer or whatever criminal that they're hanging with. They're hanging with a gangbanger, and then they walk into a room and they thinking it's there. Or how about this? I know many cases where it'll be a girl, she thinking she going out with a gang leader or a drug dealer, and then they walk into a room and then they find out they actually have to screw with the whole crew, and then they don't want to be there, but they trap the girl. And I know cases of that. You know what I mean? So that's not an uncommon thing to hear. These are the things that happen, particularly if you're dealing with criminals. like I said, particularly when you're dealing with young women, they say, "Oh, you got to teach young men not to do this," but I'm like, well, we already do, but we need to start telling young women, "Yo, you can't be you first of all, you can't be smoking with strangers. First of all, you're not supposed to be smoking anyways, and then second of all, if you're dealing with a older drug dealer, whatever, I don't care what he says to you. That guy's a predator. Like, I don't care if you think you're more mature than what he says that you're more mature than you. He's a predator. But like I said, if I point that out, because I'm pretty sure there were probably people in that those girls' lives that was telling you that was like, "Yo, why are you hanging with this dude?" But the thing is, when you point that out, you'll get called a hater by those same girls. You know what I mean? So, or they'll just act like you don't know what you're talking about. I've seen this before where you'll have a 16-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl bragging about her 28-year-old boyfriend, that works at UPS or something, and he has a nice motorcycle or a car, and she's just intrigued by that he has his own place and he has a car. You know what I mean? And if I tell her the guy's a predator, she's just gonna think, oh, I'm just mad because I can't get at her. You know what I mean? So it's a less of a case of, oh, you got to tell men to stop doing. No, it's more of, you got to, as a young lady, you need to use discernment. You have to be very careful. You can't be naive out here and thinking older drug dealers are your friends. Like, it's even come to the point. Like, I remember I just happened to be talking about, women going out with drug dealers when they're younger or whatever. Or I was just saying, just in general, women going out with drug dealers. And it was a woman going on my page saying that, oh, a drug dealer stole your girl. And you're just like, this is a girl. Talk about, oh, did a drug dealer steal you? And I'm like, you see? And I'm like, you see? So you try to point out, maybe you shouldn't hang out with these sect of people because there's a lot of predators in that sect. I've explained this, but when you say this, they'll say that you're jealous. It's weird. So I promise you, I'm not making this stuff up. Where I'm talking about drug dealers and they're talking about, oh, you jealous? And I'm like, jealous of? I'm like, these people be targeting kids, pimps. They target young teenage girls, and you think I'm jealous of these people? And I know what they do. But women want to, for some reason, young women want to be around these people for some reason. You know what I mean? And I can't do anything about that. What am I supposed to do about that? If I say something about it, people calling me a hater. People saying I'm jealous. I promise you, that's what happened. I wish I could show the comment where it was a broad going on my page saying, the first post of your Instagram page, you're talking about drug dealers. You must have lost your girl to a drug dealer. And you're just like, bruh, I was like, you know what? I wash my hands. Because like I said, situations like this is avoidable. This is avoidable. Because I try to tell people, if you don't want to get deleted by a dragon, try not to hang out at the dragon's lair or the dragon's cove, the dragon's cave. Let's not try to go to the boiling lake of lava where the dragon lives. Let's try to stay away from it. I'm not saying the dragon doesn't leave his lair. Let's just not, but to increase our chances of not being burned by a dragon, let's not go to its place of residence, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? But when you say stuff like this, people, like, particularly women in general, they love them some pookie. They love them some pookie, bro. They love their drug dealers and they love them some pookies. So, there's nothing for me to say. This is why it's almost ironic when I hear women say, teach men not to not grape women. And you're just like, well, that's not how this works. And second of all, there are things that we could do so we don't put ourselves in these kind of dangers. Because when we talk about prevention, just prevention in general, we could avoid all of this, you know. So I see. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can see some comments on there. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, his name. What a crazy irony. His name is Hyman. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest ironies. Now, okay, here you see this is the this is why I say this problem. I believe this in my opinion. I don't think this problem is going to go away because people when they point their fingers at people, they point them at the wrong. They point their fingers at the wrong people. So right here, you see a comment here. It says incel behavior. They better check him for a manifesto. What? What? Where? Oh my God. This isn't incel behavior. This is predatory drug dealers doing what predatory drug dealers do. But when I talk about it, apparently I'm jealous. I've seen this on my comment section in my Instagram, and you're just like, bro, okay, okay. This is not incel behavior. This is predatory behavior. This is stuff that predators do when they want to target young girls. They become drug dealers or they just become criminals in general. And they put themselves in position where they can show off their minimal things. And then they'll be like 28, 29, 30 years old. I'm not even talking about 19, but like they'll be college age and they'll be targeting middle school age girls. And then the crazy thing is people will be like, so why don't you say something about them if you know them? I'm like, well, you guys love these people because they deal marijuana as well, and y'all buy from these people. I don't hang with these people because I know what they do. Because I know it's not just sexual favors that they're gaining from women their age. It's from other. I'm like I always just because like I said, y'all love pookies, but we already know degenerates are going to do degenerate things. And for some reason, people like hanging with these people. You guys, not me. You guys. It is what it is. Because mind you, this same broad that's saying incel behavior, bet you, if he never pulled a gun on this chick and say he was able to sleep with other younger, because this is clearly this is probably not the first time he's done something like this, and probably he didn't have to pull a gun last time that he did something like this. Say if this never happened and he never pulled a gun on them, and then he ends up getting into a relationship with one of these girls, as sick as that is, right? If she met this dude in real life and he was just, hey, I'm just selling weed, you should accept that weed from him. All that stuff, it goes out the window. It seems to always go out the window, man. They say put him in general pop. Yeah, of course. He clearly he needs to be locked up. You know what I mean? So right here, I saw this comment right here. This is from a woman, mind you, who probably doesn't even like men at all. But I actually agree with the comment. She says some females need to be smart. Why follow a stranger back to his home? That is crazy, especially in today's time. Some of these men are unhinged and are crazy. Don't talk to strangers. Who cares if they're flashing $100 bills, etc.? Who gives a fuck? Glad they are alive, but be smarter next time. Throw away the key. Don't let them out. Don't let them out. Right? And this is probably coming from a woman that doesn't even like men at all. But I actually agree with what she's saying. You can't be following. You don't know this guy, but you following him home. Why? Because he has drugs? Because he got some weed for you? He got some vape for you? He got some drinks? But it's enough for you to follow this guy home, even though this guy already looks suspect. He looks like a suspect kind of dude, but like I said, all of that goes out the window when it comes to drugs. So we really have to start having this conversation. We have a real pandemic level of women that are willing to do anything for the drugs that they want to buy.